absolutely loved our time with Final Fantasy XVI so far. 50 hours in and seeing the end credits, we still have lots of stuff left to do in New Game Plus. But to be honest, there are some pointers we think would have been handy for us to have if we were starting the game for the first time again today. And well, it might be too late for us, but maybe it isn't for you, so if you're about to jump into a new game and aren't sure what to expect, we have you covered. Here are 11 things I wish I'd known before starting Final Fantasy XVI. When you're starting up a new game of Final Fantasy XVI, aside from standard options like camera controls and target lock, you'll have the opportunity to adjust a bunch of other game settings. You can, of course, set them however you'd like, but you should also know that you have the ability to adjust them again at any point during your playthrough by opening the main menu and finding the System tab. So don't stress too much at that initial setup. Of particular note to us, you can go into the System menu in the sound settings and toggle visual alerts on and off. Having visual alerts on will provide a visual cue along the edge of the screen to help notify you of sounds that are occurring in the game, which is super handy for hunting down a nearby NPC or monster or for anticipating incoming attacks off screen. Visual alerts can also be adjusted for size and opacity in the sound settings, so they can be as unobtrusive as you want them to be. Another choice you're presented with before starting the game, you can choose to play either story-focused mode or action-focused mode. When selecting story-focused mode, Clive will start the game equipped with 2 timely accessories. The idea being you can immerse yourself in the narrative experience without having to worry too much about the action. Bear in mind though that having timely accessories equipped takes up a slot that would otherwise be used for a different accessory that would likely grant you some sort of combat boost. When selecting action-focused mode, not only will the enemies be slightly more difficult to defeat, but also Clive will not have the timely accessories equipped. But it's important to note that you will still start with all the timely accessories available in your inventory even if you choose action-focused mode. So you can change your gear anytime you want to. There are 5 timely accessories in total. The Ring of Timely Strikes, which executes complex ability combinations by simply pressing square. The Ring of Timely Focus, which slows down time before a dodgeable enemy attack strikes Clive and warns you to press the R1 button before the time runs out to avoid it. The Ring of Timely Evasion, which means Clive will automatically evade attacks, as long as the attack can be evaded of course. The Ring of Timely Healing, which will make Clive automatically use a potion when his HP falls below a certain point. And finally, the Ring of Timely Assistance, which you get when Torgal officially joins the party, and which essentially automates all of Torgal's attacks to assist Clive as best he can. Equip any of these at any point throughout the game, no matter what mode you're playing on, if you fancy a little bit of a helping hand. And remember that regardless of which mode you select at the beginning, you can also switch between the two at any time. So really, just play any way that makes sense for you.
Be safe.
Available helping hands aren't limited to combat either. If you're getting bogged down with gear and just want to equip the best stuff in your inventory as quickly as possible, you can use the Optimize Gear option in the menu by holding down L3. I mean, really, there's never a ton of gear to sort through, but it is useful if you're in a hurry and you really don't want to overthink everything. So let's talk about the Hideaway. It's your home in Valisthea, which goes through a little bit of a makeover at a certain point in the story. The Hideaway is notable for several reasons. It houses most of your favourite NPCs, who will have updated dialogue at regular intervals throughout the game. It has Karen's Toll, where you'll be able to easily browse through and stock up on consumables. You can also sell certain items here like goblin coins, black blood and gill bugs. But a handy tip is you don't need to sort through your inventory to find them. Simply press R2 to scroll over to the sell option and then press the touchpad to sell all valuables.
Is that all?
The Hideaway also has the Blacksmith's Forge.
To what do I owe the honour?
Where you'll be making all of the most powerful weapons and armor pieces in the game. Seriously, do not bother buying weapons anywhere else because you will be coming down with all of the materials that you need to make pretty much everything.
No scratches, right?
Later on, you'll get access to the Hunt board, where the general location of particularly difficult monsters will be posted in the hopes that a brave adventurer like you will take them down. The immediate rewards for these hunts are okay, money and renown mostly, but what you'll really want to keep up with these for are the unique materials that the monsters drop, used for making all of the best late game kit, including the most powerful swords, which are only available if you've been keeping up with certain side missions. And speaking of, there's another reason you'll want to check in at the Hideaway fairly regularly. As you play through the game, side quests marked with a green exclamation point will become available throughout the world fairly regularly. Side quests generally don't grant game-changing rewards, but they do provide more in-depth flavour on what's happening in the world at any given time. Not only that, but some side quests are long-running threads that return multiple times throughout the story, culminating in some special scenes as you reach endgame if you've been keeping up. There are also specific side quests that unlock hugely important features and upgrades, such as increasing inventory capacity, limit break bars, accessory slots, and more potent healing. And these are marked with a slightly different green plus sign. These are always worth doing, so make sure and prioritize them as some features are pretty essential, such as chocobo riding, unlocked via the side quest, the White Winged Wonder. Loads of side missions actually start off from the Hideaway, and be sure to check out some of the missives in Clive's chambers in Hideaway 2.0 for side missions hiding in letters from allies as well, where side quests are geared towards learning a little bit more about your party members. Lots of side quests pop up around the world away from the Hideaway, of course, and you can spot them on the world map. But you can also view them in the Alliant Reports section of the Hideaway, though it's not really any more convenient than just fast travelling straight to them. Next to Alliant Reports in Hideaway 2.0, and way more useful though, is the Patron's Whisper, where you can trade your renown for some nice little tips left by admiring fans. The final place of note in the Hideaway for us is the Thousand Tomes, presided over by the incredibly voiced Harpocrates.
I was wondering when next you'd visit.
This, along with active time lore that you can access at any time by holding down the touchpad, even during cutscenes, is a very handy way to keep track of the locations and characters you're dealing with in the game. There are over 2,800 different lore entries between basic terms, geography, people, beasts, important historical events, and more, which Harpocrates will unlock more information on as you return to him throughout the story. It's just a really nice little feature to browse through from time to time. Active time lore in particular is basically the X-ray feature from Amazon Prime Video, keeping you in the know about words or events that pop up. Specific entries are updated as the story progresses as well. Now let's go back to combat for a bit. You know that the basic combat consists of melee strikes and magic, but the big hitting attacks are iconic abilities, mapped to the circle button, and iconic feats. Both of these are unique to each icon, and feats wield the power of a specific element, granting Clive the ability to perform devastating moves. Unlike the iconic abilities, iconic feats like Phoenix Shift, Deadly Embrace, and Blind Justice can be used repeatedly without any cooldown time in between. Later feats can be super powerful when properly applied too, so make sure and try out everything. Now typically you can equip up to 3 icons at a time and use 2 of their abilities each, for up to a total of 6 abilities to cycle between. You can keep up with all available abilities by keeping an eye on the dots in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. They're color-coded to each icon and light up when abilities are available. Here's an extra tip though. The abilities menu allows you to use ability points to either learn or upgrade each ability. And when you upgrade an ability enough, you'll be able to master it. Once mastered, you can equip an ability regardless of icons, so if you really love all of a particular icon's available skills, you can use all by equipping them in the menu. It's easy, of course, to get lost in putting together your build, but if you just want to jump straight into combat, or if you just want combat made as casual and streamlined as possible so you can just enjoy the story, you can always use recommended abilities, which automatically unlocks abilities that are recommended for each situation, hence the name. Alternatively, if you're not feeling a build, you can reset skills in the abilities menu any time during your playthrough, so you can go ahead and try out a completely different set of abilities. However, if there are moves that you want to prevent resetting, you can lock them down with R3. Of course, you can refund and purchase individual abilities in your menu too. Ability points that are spent can be refunded with no cost at any time, so there's absolutely no penalty for trying out different kinds of builds. Once you've played through enough of the game, Clive will unlock his Limit Break ability, and once those Limit Break bars fill up, you can press L3 and R3 at the same time to activate Limit Break for increased damage and gradual HP regeneration. As the attack bonus occurs for the full duration of Clive's Limit Break gauge, it's beneficial to increase your Limit Break bars early on by upgrading Clive's passive skills in the Icon Abilities menu. Also, these bars fill up ridiculously fast during combat and in particular during boss fights, so seriously do not hoard your power. Use Limit Break often and liberally, and it'll be available to activate again before you know it. Attacking powerful enemies such as bosses wears down their will gauge. Once their will is below half, they will falter for a brief moment. Continuing to attack the enemy until their will gauge has completely depleted will break their spirit and make them staggered. And during this time, the enemy will be down and unable to attack, with any damage dealt being compounded. So use this time to your advantage to unleash a string of powerful moves to deplete their health bar completely. But also, be strategic about which skills you're using and when. Abilities like Shiva's Diamond Dust, for example, can obliterate an enemy's will gauge. So be sure to prioritize those abilities specifically to stagger enemies, and then follow up with Limit Breaks and other damage dealing skills to whittle them down as quickly as possible. On attacking actually, there are some attack combos that work nicely together. For example, you can use Torgal's Ravage to kick enemies into the air, then you follow it up with a Phoenix Shift to jump up to where the enemies are, use a basic attack combo before finishing with Down Thrust, that's down and square, and there you go, you've got a flashy combo. Alternatively, use Phoenix's Rising Flames to put your enemy into the air, and then follow with Phoenix's Scarlet Cyclone or Ramu's Thunderstorm to deal damage. Or how about Garuda's iconic feat Deadly Embrace to pull enemies towards you, then following that up with an attack combo ending with Torgal's Ravage to kick them back into the air, finishing up with holding down triangle for a charged magic shot. Basically, you can have a lot of fun by just juggling and getting creative. Anyway, those are just some basic tips that we thought first-time players might find useful, but if you have any of your own, please do let us know in the comments. And shout about how you're finding the game as well, of course. Whether you're a new or old Final Fantasy fan or completely new to the series, how are you liking it? Check out our Let's Play if you feel like it, and stay tuned for more Final Fantasy XVI content coming very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!
Ugh!